Wow, it has been a long time since I've made one of these. You may have seen in the title that we're reviewing Survival Arts. You've seen me post a few videos about this game before, but I've never really done a full-out review of it. As an aside, it's been almost 9 years since I started this channel, and the inspiration for it was a guy whose username on YouTube was Sycophant, and I'm subscribed to him still. You can go look at his channel. He hasn't posted anything in a long time. But his videos are still very much worth watching. And what I think made him so great was his videos were just gameplay footage with his commentary. And that's really what inspired me to make this channel, because they were so simple yet so funny. And he did a series called Gaming Disasters. And he reviewed this game, so I decided in the spirit of nostalgia and starting the channel and inspiration, I would do it too. So I've done some crappy 90s Street Fighter II and Mortal Kombat ripoffs before. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't, and then a few people didn't even like my review of it. Now, if this were 90% of other videos about games like this, they'd start with a segment to tell you how popular Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter were in the 90s, and how everyone and their mother made fighting games to try to compete. Well, this ain't your daddy's video. I will say that pretty much everyone fell into two camps. You either had rip-off 6-button fighters aiming to cash in on Street Fighter II, or you had ultra-violent games, which may or may not have 6 or 4 buttons, trying to cash in on Mortal Kombat. Some were good, some were bad, and some were just, well, survival arts. Well, first of all, let's just talk about this poster here. This was the Japanese promotional flyer for Survival Arts. So let's take a look at the characters here. If you start over in the far left, you have Gunner, who looks like some sort of super futuristic cop with like a Power Rangers kind of thing going on. And then if you go in the bottom left there, you have Hannah, who, I don't know, maybe she looks like some kind of biker chick. Okay, that's cool, I guess. And then you got the two wrestler-type characters, Kane and Santana. You know, one's obviously a luchador, and the other's like some kind of mutant or something. And then you got what appears to be Big Boss with a weird rifle and a body armor, whatever. You know, he looks like he could fight. You know, he looks like maybe somebody tough, grandpa, I guess. And anyway, you got Tasha over here, who is obviously wearing a workout uniform, but hey, she's got a sword. And then you got a ninja, so that's pretty fair, right? A ninja. And then you got this guy who's obviously like the protagonist, the Ryu or Ken type character, which, I mean, you know, you got to have your Shoto in there. It's a 6-button fighter. And then you got what's obviously supposed to be the game's final boss, Dantel, at the background. You know, he looks evil and mysterious, and he's got his hand reaching over like, aha, I'm in control of this situation. You know, he smokes as he shoots the bird. But unfortunately, as cool as this poster is, you play the game and you get this. Oh dear, look at this. So this is what the gameplay really looks like. That's the cool Power Rangers Gunner over there on the left, and that's Hannah, the one in workout clothes, over there on the right. It can't make it any crazier than it is. Now, as goofy as this game looks, the gameplay is not that bad, I'll give it that. It's your 6-button fighter variety, but it also uses the Mortal Kombat-esque digitized sprites, which is kind of interesting, actually. I can't make that many excuses for it because, I mean, my goodness, look at these outfits. If that guy is a police officer, I'm a nuclear physicist. But, I mean, just look at these people. I mean, the ideas are there, it's interesting, but the execution is just so awful, you can't make any excuse at all for it. I mean, like old Sycophant said, most of the characters look like garbage men or something. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and start the game. You always fight Mongo first for some reason, and he's probably the worst one to fight just because he has an attack that can kill you in one hit if it hits you correctly. But anyway, if you look at the outfits, you know, Mortal Kombat's outfits were kind of campy. They weren't the best, but you know, they could get away with it because the gameplay was solid enough, I guess, if not a little unfair fighting the CPU. But these guys, I mean, it just looks terrible. Most of the outfits are one color, they're not detailed. I would say that they're boring, but they're not even something the average person would wear. I mean, this guy looks like he's got some sort of Neil Armstrong spaceman Tang Explorer costume on. And the other guy over here just looks like some sort of doofus in a blue suit with a bulletproof vest on. And I mean, he's also going bald. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a fighting game. We need intimidating people. And this guy just looks like he should, I don't know, be running the 9 to 5 shift down at the factory or something. He also doesn't extend his hands above his shoulders when he does his wind pose. I mean, you can do that wind pose, but you got to put the hands all the way up in the air. This guy just does them to his shoulders. He looks like that old meme image of the character that looks really excited. I'd have to find the one. I don't know what it's for, but he looks like that. If you know what it is, you've seen it and you understand it. You also notice there's weapons on the ground in green. I don't think I pick any up until some of the later battles, but you can pick up weapons and fight with them. This is Kane, and he's probably the most worthless of the characters. His attacks are just so big and exaggerated and goofy. He can't really do much about you once you get him in the good cycle there. Viper's a really good character to beat the game with because he's got a good assortment of moves. He plays pretty much like Ryu or Ken, except with a power wave instead of a fireball. He's also got a rapid fire punch, and he's got a low sweep he can do. And it can even be done in the air if you know how to do it. But, I mean, Viper's pose, I guess, kind of looks like a fighter, but Kane just kind of, I don't know, stands there. He's also wearing what appears to be some women's dance studio pants. He's not fooling anybody with that look. Maybe this is the stage Mongo should have had, since it's like at the factory and Mongo looks like a factory foreman from like a bad guy boss meme or something. Santana is, in my opinion, as goofy as he is, one of the more passable ones. I mean, he still looks ridiculous with the luchador mask and the Teflon pants, but I don't know, he kind of accomplishes the look they were going for well enough, I guess. Unfortunately for him, he's just so big and clunky, it's rather easy to just get him in a corner like you see here and not let him get up. They're also in what appears to be Omega Red stage from X-Men Children of the Atom. I'm not sure when that game came out in relation to this one. But it's funny because in the X-Men game, at least that stage looked like a submarine or something, but this just looks like they had made another stage for like a building or something, and they just put it underwater. I mean, like the door on the left over there looks like it's at like a Sunburst Bank or something like that. A Sunburst Bank. I'm really showing my age on that one. Also, that uppercut is insanely powerful. And I like how it just sends him flying all the way up the screen. It's ridiculous. He got me there. The problem with that little grab and beat up attack he has is, you know, it breaks fighting game grab and beat up attack convention. You know, if you're going to do the grab and smack attack, you either give the player all the damage at the end of it or at the beginning, but he just gets more and more damage the longer the attack goes on, and it's in no way balanced. It does a ridiculous amount of damage. This game really could have used some more work on balancing, I'm afraid. Like Mongo, the nuclear bomb drop attack, if you get caught in the hitbox of 2 or 3 of those at once, it kills you instantly from a full bar. Okay, now take a look at this bonus stage. You're in the desert breaking some like 90s stereos and TVs, but they only give you 20 seconds to do it, and even if you use your fierce attack, it takes like, 10 or so attacks to break these things. And more than that, you don't get any points if you run out of time. So how are you supposed to get any points? So after breaking all her furniture, Hannah shows up to fight you. Her story is she's in some kind of biker gang or something like that. And she entered the tournament to get revenge on a rival group or something like that. it's really not any good or worth paying attention to. And this girl on the back far right, she is having the time of her life back there watching this match. Look at that. Unfortunately, as I recorded this, I don't think I struck any death blows, which is unusual, because this game does technically fall into Mortal Kombat hyperviolence territory, because sometimes when you hit enemies with a strong enough move to KO them, they just explode or fall apart. Kane in particular almost always dies very gruesomely no matter what you hit him with, but it didn't happen in this run, which is unusual. Hannah usually blows up fairly easy as well, but she didn't, so I don't know what happened there. Hannah as a CPU can be pretty annoying to fight because she has this attack where she telekinetically throws you, and the CPU can throw it out at a moment's notice with almost no time to block it or anything, so it's really hard to counter that. Fortunately, she doesn't use it very much, and I'm able to get the jump on her. I mean, Hannah's outfit isn't good, but it's one of the better ones in the game. You know, Viper just looks like he's wearing Neil Armstrong Teflon test gear or something. Look how she's standing. I've done Kamai, friend. That is not a Kamai. She's also just wearing, like, a bathing suit with some exercise sweats under it. If you were going for ninja, you did not get ninja. And you're also apparently fighting in the garden out behind the studio where they recorded this. One thing I don't like is that usually in a fighting game, the stage that you fight the character on fits that character's personality or background. In this case, it doesn't at all. You just have you know, just some random stage. I think Mongo's is probably the only one that really fits that well. And maybe Viper. Viper's is okay too, because he's a street fighter and his is at least out on the street. I'll tell you, most of the people that did the motion capture for this game are probably out on the street because they certainly didn't earn any money from their motion caption career. I actually looked up several of the actors on Google a few years ago to see if I could find what any of these people are doing now, but unfortunately I could not. In particular, the final boss. I would be very interested to see what that guy is up to now, but unfortunately I could not find him or any of the others. Judging from how English voice acting in Japan works, most of these people, if I had to guess, were people who did voice acting work or motion capture or other things for Japanese games. If you're interested in that, the guy that does the voice of James Sunderland, his first name is Guy, I think his last name is like Sihi or something like that. He has done a lot of interviews talking about that whole process of being a voice actor for Silent Hill 2, which was recorded in English in Japan. So, you know, they just kind of grab these people, and companies like to work with the same people over and over, like for example, Robert Belgrade, who does the voice of Alucard in Symphony of the Night. He's worked with Namco a lot. He does the announcing for lots of Tekken and other fighters that Namco does. But anyway, we're fighting Gunner, and once again, he seems to walk like he has no idea how to protect himself in a fight. I've taken karate. I know from just basics, you don't approach someone bent over with your head out like, please punch me in the face. Also, I guess they got the color right. The blue does kind of look like a police officer, but it just looks like Teflon or something like that. I don't know what in the world. And look, you can tell it's sweatpants. When he raises his arm for his victory pose, you can see the drawstring in his pants. That's not intimidating at all. I don't know about if you were doing PvP, but Gunner is one of the better characters to fight the CPU as, because he's kind of like Sagat in that he has an upper projectile and a lower projectile, and you can usually cheese the CPU with that. In particular, the last boss can be easily beaten with Gunner because he can't duck, so he has no way to avoid projectiles. A little fun fact for you, that painting in the background will turn into the final boss's face if you stay on the level long enough, but with any luck you won't have to play this game long enough to make it to this level. So I'm being too harsh on it. This game looks terrible. The premise is awful, the story is awful, the outfits are awful. The control is not that bad. It's pretty responsive. It's 6 buttons. Every character has a lot of moves. Most of those moves are horribly balanced, and some of them do insane amounts of damage or send you across the screen. But nonetheless, it controls relatively well. And believe it or not, this game even has a fall recovery. I didn't get a chance to do it in this video, but over at the Daraku Tenchi forum, one of the guys pointed out to me that there's a button combination you can press. Alright, once again, you're just fighting like a random assortment of office furniture, and you have almost no time to do it. I think I've managed to clear this one at least one time using the sweep kick method, because you can hit 3 of them at once. But even if you manage to clear it, you're going to get next to no points because you just don't have enough time. Here's Hiryu, or Hityu, as the announcer, whom I'm not sure wasn't doing Quaaludes, says it. I think this is a stage where I pick up one of the weapons on the ground. The reason being, the CPU starts to Mortal Kombat style just react to your button presses later on. But the way you get around that is you pick up a weapon on the ground, which does chip damage, and you just knock them into a corner. If I remember correctly, Hiryu is top tier in this game. He has a very slow projectile, which he can, I think, throw multiple of at a time. He can air jump up to 5 times. He can climb on the walls and jump off and attack you. He has a spin in place to stop jump ins. Just, you know, another example of this game completely unbalanced. It seems like some characters got a lot of moves, and then some characters almost got none, so it makes me wonder if they didn't have a whole lot of time. Viper is fortunately one of the better ones. He's got a lot of moves. He's got the spin kick, he's got the force waves, he's got the rapid punch, he's got the air swiping kick. Hiryu over here, you know, I went through all of his moves. But people like Gunner, you know, he just has a high and low shot and a bunch of crappy normals, and that's really all he gets. Hannah is another one that's got a good many moves. She's got an uppercut, she's got, well, actually, maybe all she has is an uppercut. I don't know, I've never played as her. There's that wall climb I was telling you about. Interestingly enough, you always fight the characters in the same order in this game. It's always the exact same order. If you want to see another Let's Play of this game, sans commentary, that's even more interesting, I have one up you can check out. I played through the game as the last boss. And he is only available through hacking as far as I know, and considering the game crashes when you beat it with him, I really doubt there was a way to play as him unless it was 2-player only. And you fight Viper last. This makes me think he was meant to be the protagonist of the game, because the cursor starts out on him. If you remember the poster at the beginning, his image was the biggest and it was at the top, so if anybody, you'd think it would be Gunner, because, you know, he was in it to defeat the final boss, Dantel. And I just cheesed him. Viper is a pain to fight because he starts countering everything, so you just pick up that mace and beat him to death with it. The chip damage alone is usually enough to pacify him. Not really sure what they were going for in the background there. Got some guys jumping up and down, a dog. Looks like I'm at the county fair. I don't know about your county fair, but we certainly have those types where I'm from. It's obviously at night, judging by the gigantic moon up there. Also, the stages are kind of weird in that some, like Santana's stage, is very small, and stages like this one you get a little bit of room to scroll, so all the boards are not even, which is kind of annoying and would probably be a nightmare if this game were good. Oh gosh, that never gets old. So like Sycophant pointed out, the final boss is apparently Richard Simmons. But this guy is probably my favorite one because, you know, this is supposed to be the final boss, the ultimate antagonist of this whole affair. And it's just some guy wearing like some pants and a black shirt, and they went to like a costume store that sold exclusively to high schoolers doing presentations of The King and I or something, and then got this purple robe with this awful tinsel and stupid shoulders on it, and just like, here, wear this. So Dantel, as you can imagine, for a final boss in a bad fighting game is pretty cheap. He has Viper's Rapid Punch, except it shoots knives. He has an eye laser. He has a fire breath, like Mongo has the flamethrower. I think they were trying to go for the Shang Tsung type thing where he has all the characters' moves. Fortunately, he doesn't have a crazy anti-air. He usually just does the laser or something. He also has a slide which has insane priority. He has that Blanca ball move, which he can be knocked out of if you shoot him with a projectile, fortunately. Ignore that little pause there. I was taking out some editing errors. He's going to beat me a few times before I beat him, but that's fine. I wanted to show you how annoying he is. It's funny, we just kind of go back and forth, going above and under each other here for a second. And he does that usually instantaneously as soon as you throw out your move. He does his. And for his wind pose, he just kind of turns around. Like, what? You were expecting Shao Kahn? Meanwhile, his idle pose is just him, like, breathing hard. Like I said, the best way to beat this guy is to just pick Gunner and shoot the low bolts. He doesn't have a duck animation, so he pretty much just tries to counter you and gets hit by something every time. So he's not the worst fighting game boss. Like, he's definitely not SNK level. The first few times you fight him, he'll probably overwhelm you, but once you get the hang of it, he's really not that bad. And I'm just jumping around because I'm bad at life and a scrub, but I have beaten this. I do have a Let's Play up of this game. It has no commentary. I think I do. Besides the Dantel one. I think it was just a video where I showed how to beat Dantel as Gunner. And you'll see me beat him as Viper here in a second. I guess I'm insane. I keep trying the same things over and over and losing. For a while there, I was actually pretty good at beating this game. I go through phases where I like to pick it up and play it, and then I just get tired of it again. Like I said, it's really bad, but that doesn't mean it can't be fun. That's the beauty of these bad old 90s fighting games. You know, there are some of them, like Tongue of the Fat Man, that are just so bad you can't play them. And then there are games like this that are like bad, but they're so bad they're good kind of thing. And this is definitely one of them. Like Superior Soldiers is another one that's like, it's really bad, but it's fun at the same time. I would say something like Time Killers would be a game that was bad but not fun. This is bad, but you can easily have a little fun with it. I'm not having very much fun, as you can see. I'm getting it handed to me by Dantel. And that's another thing. I was telling you about Hannah had that psychic throw. He also has one, and he uses it a lot more often, and it does a lot more damage. So there's you a strat there for this guy. When he does his ball, you want to jump over him, but you don't want to jump the full length of the screen because you'll be able to get to the other side and shoot a projectile before he recovers. He's also vulnerable during that projectile as well, so always smack him if you've got time. Just don't use a physical attack, use a projectile. I don't know why I jumped at that. We do beat him. I promise we beat him. And I think this is... It's either... I think it's this one. May not be. Maybe the next one, but I think we're going to get him. Oh yeah, that's another attack Viper has I forgot about, where he yells, "Hey, hey, hey, hey," and just runs. Unfortunately, that power wave stops just short of hitting him there. There we go, we got him. Alright, now you get this little blurb here no matter who you play as. Let's read it. The founder of survival arts is Dantel, whose real purpose is to eat the flesh of powerful human beings in order to gain immortality. See Shang Tsung. He has made his disciples fight against each other rather than choose a successor. So apparently by winning the tournament he was supposed to teach you the survival arts, which I think was every character's ability altogether or something like that. So Viper becomes even more of a jerk than he already was before and opens his own dojo. And he also gets hair like Uncle Joey off Full House. John Walter, where are you now? Wonder if John Walter had any other gigs. Like I said, and Brian Creech, especially Gunner. I want to ask him if he still walks around like that. Like I said, I have searched for these guys and to no avail to see what became of the cast of the actors in this game. If you're out there watching, please comment below or send me a message. We'd love to do an interview with you and talk about the development of this game. Funny enough, Survival Arts was not the only game they were going to do like this. There was another game that you could almost call it a spiritual successor, if not call it that. And the name escapes me, of course, because I'm trying to think of it. But it'll come to me in just a second. But the soundtrack to it is actually on YouTube. Deadly Sport. Yes, look up Deadly Sport. It's an unreleased game, but it looks exactly like this. The characters are in the same vein. Everything looks very similar. But all in all, Survival Arts is not the worst game ever. It's definitely a bad game. It looks bad. It's unbalanced. You know, not fit for competitive play at all. But it's fun to pick up every once in a while. So I'd have to give it at least a 6 out of 10. With most of those points being lost just because it looks so bad. So anyway, this is Torentsu signing off. If you worked on this game, please comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And that's all for Torentsu Reviews.